Can't understand? Welcome to our philosophical discussions.
My name is Salman.
And I'm Wishwati.
Our big question today is,
if a child somehow survived and grew up in the wilderness without any human contact, how human would they be without the influence of society and culture?
as you can see, we have two guests here.
Indeed.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Alfie.
I'm Shakir.
Good friends of ours.
Yes, so who wants to start us off today? Let's have the guests.
It's okay, you can start us off if you want.
Alright. If a child normally survived without human contact, I would presume that they would be living like Tarzan. So that's my way around it.
A way to start off, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to. Yeah.
Alfie, thoughts?
One random thought that it's not very holistic. It's very specific. I'm just curious whether this child who's never seen a human, I presume, without any human contact. I don't presume. I know. Would they find a need for clothing, or do you think they would just constantly not wear any clothes? Because is clothing just a social construct of decency, of cover your body?
Yeah. I mean, that's why animals don't wear anything. They don't cover anything, right?
I mean,
yeah.
In terms of clothing, yes, it is probably necessary in terms of if you went out in Canada winter without clothes, you wouldn't last very long. But in the sense of let's say they grew up in a tropical environment where it just suits them, yeah, they probably wouldn't need clothes if that's one thing to look at.
I feel
yeah, I doubt. Oh wait, yeah, sorry.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, I doubt they would spend any time on their appearance. If they had mud in their hair, unless it was hurting them or felt really uncomfortable. I doubt they would remove it or anything like that. So they would look very unkempt and yeah.
Okay, so I think this is quite a big question. So, oh god, what we should do is break it up into bits. So, what do you think makes someone human in today's day and age and in the sort of society we live in? So, Alfie mentioned one thing is sort of kind of links into what we did last time, but consciousness, but in this sort of sense of being conscious about your appearance and that sort of thing. What else do you guys think?
I feel emotions and understanding.
Sorry, Shakir just pulled the meanest face ever at me. Sorry, go on.
So it's of the ability to process emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Shakir said Tarzan. I mean, we'll laugh at it, but it's a pretty good example. The guy grew up in the wilderness without any human contact, right? So he becomes he doesn't. So if we might feel an emotion of love, for example, for another human, he might not be able to because he's never been taught it. Does that? I don't know if that makes sense. He's never been shown what that feeling is like, so he'll never know it.
I guess, but if you're living in the wilderness, you're going to be exposed to dangers. Obviously, you can't have life without danger. But fear is an emotion, no? Or being scared is an emotion.
Yeah, I feel emotion. I don't know.
I feel like this person would have a huge lack of empathy and sympathy towards other beings, because being totally isolated, the only thing of your kind, I feel like you wouldn't really have empathy towards other the other creatures that were in the wilderness alongside the child, because I feel like with humans, it's sort of ingrained that humans should look after other humans to an extent. Obviously, you have people who go against that and kill other people, but most things done by humans are in order to benefit other humans or themselves. But
That's
then that idea of benefiting other humans would probably, or other beings, like, other
hmm
entities would just be lost here because of the complete isolation.
Agreed. And what do you guys think about the sort of communication? Do you think communication makes up a big part of being human? Not necessarily by speaking, but by any sort of communication. And how do you think this person that had grown up without human contact would communicate? Because they likely would not be able to speak English or any other language. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
With that language barrier, would be very hard to communicate with people around them. So communicating with others would be very hard for this child, and to like explaining things to them, and explaining where he or she lives.
I
Okay,
feel like
yeah.
it'd be like really primal, like how like those like really secluded tribes in the Amazon,
Yeah.
like they still never speak, right?
Indigenous
It's free
people, yeah.
indigenous people, right? Like
Indeed.
they can't communicate with most humans, right? Because they're so secluded. Like I feel you can call them human, but I feel like they'll have more similarities to like creatures in the wild than they have like more. So like their behavior is more that of like the animals who live in those forests rather than like us. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. And in that, do you think they would identify with us at all? Or like this child would identify with us at all? Like, do you think they would consider themselves human? Or would they consider themselves just like one of the people they were raised with? Potentially.
Similar, like when like your like if a parent leaves their child to like a different like a different mother and a different
Yeah,
dad,
yeah.
like if they grow up as their own child, right, the kid feels more inclined towards the people who like raised him and not the people
Yeah,
they
but
were born
like
with.
we're talking about different
I,
like
I,
species
I
here.
understand that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you become so into their community, I feel like leaving that would be a bigger
True.
shock.
Yeah, like I don't think this child, this hypothetical child, or maybe real if it exists, he or she, sorry, not it. Um, I
Not
don't.
like an outcast. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that he or she would identify with us at all in that sort of sense because they probably wouldn't go about like holding things. For example, we have very specific ways of holding things because we've quite clearly adapted into that sort of thing. But if they're taught into handling things like whatever animals they were raised with or raised like, they would probably be very familiar with that sort of sense and think of us as very strange. And yeah, in that sort of sense, can we really consider them human if they exhibit no human characteristics?
Yeah, that is a good point. I feel like if someone was to grow up only around, animals for their entire life, I feel like hands they could like, they could walk on all fours or something, and they could hold things in their mouths rather than walking on their back legs. Even though I know humans, we're bipedal, we actually, we have legs and arms, not four legs, but
Yeah.
perhaps even just, you know, being influenced by everything around you being completely different, who knows if they would like even walk the same, or
Yeah.
you know but I feel like they would have the same facial expressions, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
In raw reaction to like,
Yeah.
like just as reaction, if they're scared, they'll
Yeah.
have the same facial expressions, which is another similarity between,
Mhm.
modern humans and then this hypothetical case.
What characteristics do you think then that these sort of people would have to exhibit in order for us to really consider them humans in the same way that we are? If anyone has any sort of thing. Shakir, stop pulling those faces at me. Like every time I look over, Shakir's like,
It's like just don't.
Shakir's like,
Yeah, but-
wow, you dumb.
I feel like you can't really. I mean, they are inherently human, but I don't think if they're raised in like the wild, I don't think they can ever be class like. I feel like they're closer to the people they're raised with than they are the
Yeah.
people they were born with, right? Like, do you guys know that girl in Ukraine who's like raised up like by wolves and stuff?
That's what I've heard of. Is it Ukraine? I just know that she's been raised by
Yeah,
them.
it was Ukraine. It was like I don't know, I think it was in the 90s or something. And they found her, and she would walk on all fours, and she'd like
Yeah.
growl, and like she
Oh.
didn't like she was really mad whenever like humans tried to approach her. She was she was like a part of the wolves, right? So she felt more in that community than she did with the humans.
Yeah. But then that's quite an interesting example because again, she was still portrayed as like human by the media and like she was still considered one of us despite never sort of showing that she was one of us. And so what are you laughing at?
Me, I'm not laughing. Sorry, Karen.
That was very teacher-like, but yeah. And like, yeah, she was still portrayed to be one of us, and despite not being like us in any sort of way, I mean, she didn't walk like us or communicate like us or hold anything or react to anything like us. But she was still considered one of us. And do you think that just sort of having, just sort of being human by structure is enough to be considered human? I know you and Salman are texting on this.
No. I was literally just gonna ask him why he's laughing.
Sorry,
I just searched this up. I just searched this up and
Okay. Sorry, I apologize. I'm back now. I know the laughter has stopped.
what's it called? I just read this. There's a child in India. He was found with like playing with like wolf cubs, and he was like 4, right? But he had sharpened teeth. He had a crave for blood, right? And he was fond of chicken hunting. He had mad hair. And his
Ishwar, I don't know why.
Exact description of Ishwar.
exact description. Long, hooked fingernails.
Oh my god, it is Ishwar.
It is
Long-
Easter. Oh my god.
Ishwar, if you're here, comment below.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say he craved for blood?
Yeah. He had a craving for blood. Like he would eat the earth that there was like blood on.
That's pretty grim.
He sounds like a lovely
Sounds
bloke.
nice.
Sounds like a lovely friend. Okay, but like in that sort of sense, would you guys still consider him human?
I feel like he's more of a wolf.
Yeah, that craving
I
for
mean,
blood, but yeah, truly
you
changed
know,
my
I mean,
views.
biologically, yes.
You know, defining human is a very difficult
Yeah.
task because you're torn between, saying what is, genetically human. Like, 2 humans have a child, that's a human. But
Yeah.
then if their behavior and even their appearance and all kind of aspects of them are so wildly different to like the societal norms of what we would consider human, that's where the line is sort of blurred. So if someone has, completely different, physical features like the hooked nails that you said, and the other ones, and a craving for blood, it does sort of make you consider, is that human in nature? Because I mean, I personally don't have a craving for blood. I can't speak on behalf of you 3, but I'm
bet
sure you
there
don't.
is.
don't
No,
have a
I
craving
definitely
for
don't.
blood.
I definitely don't.
Bro.
I was about to sus,
Listen,
I
you guys-
don't, but okay, here.
You guys
She's like, I don't.
Yeah. I don't. No. Don't.
God damn it! I'll stop generalizing.
Oh, why are you wearing a mask, by the way?
Yeah.
Corona and that, no?
Inside.
Corona and
Inside.
You never know.
Inside.
You never know.
But yeah.
This question, I think it brings up that nature versus nurture question that,
Yeah.
Facts.
that we've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about it?
Yeah, Shakir, what about it?
Of like what defined like being a human, the nature of doing due to those like genetics, and like in this nurture bit where this child is growing up by different animals. So so the nature versus nurture really aids with the answering the question of this child.
Child.
This
Yeah,
child.
okay. In that sort of sense, then yeah, I agree. I think we're all sort of on a similar page, which is quite annoying, but we're on the similar sort of page of your species is obviously genetically determined by nature. Because like think about like dogs, while they sort of exhibit human behavior by like sitting and like standing and dancing or like playing dead or whatever dogs do, I don't know. We still consider them dogs no matter how they're brought up. Because like think about this, that child had to come from somewhere, like it wasn't like a clone or anything. Well no, it still would have had to come from somewhere. So in the same way, it's been like adopted by these like wolves or whatever. We still consider it human, I guess, in that same sort of sense. So just like Shakir was saying, someone stop boxing. Just like Shakir was saying, it does bring in that nature and nurture argument. So Shakir, what were you thinking with nature and nurture?
Was I think with nature and nurture?
Yeah, what side you taking?
Oh, for this one,
Overall, bro.
I must say the nurture bit. Depends on how long this child has been raised by these animals or potentially animals. For me, I think I'm moving towards that nurture side of the argument of
Okay.
the environment bit and how it influences his or her reaction to its environment.
Good. So a bit of opposition. Good.
Yeah.
What about you two, the other two?
I'm gonna go with nature. Because I
Same.
feel like if you're inherently human, even though you've been through like 10 years of that, I feel like if you were reintroduced back into society, you would operate as a normal human being. Otherwise, if you were gone from a human background to like an animal background, you
My camera just died. Let me switch.
it's just
Turn into the camera.
this image.
You look so angry.
There we go. Okay, we're back.
It's just Alfie like. Oh my god, I love that. Okay.
Am I okay?
Yeah, you're fine now.
No, but I mean like the nature nurture thing. I didn't
Oh
get
yeah, go
to
on.
give my okay. I was gonna go for nurture just
Okay.
because I feel
Come
like
on.
I feel like someone what you were saying about like if they were reintroduced back into society they would be able to adapt. But I feel like after a certain amount of time in being so comfortable in such in such conditions with such behavior that is so far away from what society deems as human, I I'm not entirely sure that it would be possible to be fully sort of brought back into how society views humans, because if you think about having a craving for blood, it would going back to a craving for blood, that one just like I don't know,
Sticks
that
out, isn't it?
that one just sort of it's staying in my mind that
No pun intended.
like there's just something inherently dehuman just not human about that whole idea, if you understand what I mean.
Okay. And in that sort of sense, do you consider like cannibals to be not cannibals? Cannibals. Cannibals, not
Are
cannonballs.
cannonballs inherently human?
No, okay, no, I don't think. Okay, it depends what type of cannibal you're saying.
What,
Okay,
you eat
because
the
like
arm or the
Oh
leg?
my
no,
god.
I'm sure there are people who are like, please, may I have that decapitated?
Only human
Please
like
may I have
this.
that chopped off finger. I'm starving. However, I will happily eat anything else on earth. I don't think. I mean, I'm going a bit off topic. I'm talking more about cannibals now, so please stop me whenever you
We
feel
always
that
digress. It's fine.
I need to be stopped. But I feel like there are a lot of cannibals that aren't craving blood, but they're like, yeah, I'd eat it. Why not? Let's go. And then there are probably like
That's
tribes.
Okay, bro, where are you getting at?
Come on.
I have
stick
no
with your
idea. I
finger.
told you I was getting off topic, and you can stop me whenever you want to.
Any final thoughts, guys?
On what?
Okay. I guess, alright, I'll start since everyone's like so invested. I guess there has to be the loss of every single characteristic, physical or not, of a human for them to not be considered a human. Because, well, for me personally, because like I would consider anyone that sort of takes form of a human or acts as a human-ish in any sort of way, or is genetically a human to be a human. That's pretty self-explanatory, but it would take a lot for me to consider someone inhumane. And even in this sort of society, if they were to completely differ from it, like this child brought up by like wolves, I would still probably consider them human.
Yo, I'm gonna sound real stupid right now, but I gotta say it. You know when someone changes their gender without actually changing them physically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're still biologically something else, right?
I guess, yeah.
Does that
I mean,
mean?
you are opening a whole other can of
Yeah,
worms.
I know. But
I can like feel the rage like build within me, ready to argue.
Yeah, the people I
molecular
sit with in my
level,
school
they're kind
would
of
like
the
tear you
same.
to pieces.
Can we agree on that? Like, there's the same person, right? It just
Okay,
like, there's
No,
so I'm
if
pretty
they,
sure
if they transition to female, they're female. Whatever they have.
their gender is female, but
Yeah.
their biological
Okay, let's say-
sex is the one they were born with.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? They're still
But then
biologically.
gender, okay,
You can't change.
All right, here we go, boys. Here we
This
go.
is not gonna
gen
work,
gen.
bro.
No, thing is,
Unleash.
I'm too calm about this, right? There are a lot of people in my school at the moment that like are very passionate about this. That's why I'm in the know. Because it's all I hear. It's just like constantly bombarding my ears, even when like we're talking about like bread. Um, so like gender is like more of a construct or no, like they're basically just saying like you can be whatever gender you want.
Yeah.
That's essentially it.
That's what I'm saying. Right?
Which
But, okay, if you can't,
yeah,
you can't change your sex though. That's what you're born with, right? So if you're born
yeah, that's what you're born
you're
with.
born a woman, you're still gonna have a woman reproductive parts. And I feel like if you can change your gender, why can't we define the humans who live as like other animals and raised by them? Why can't we define them as those animals? This sounds so retarded. This
I
sounds
see
so
your
retarded.
point, but that's a very weak analogy for a very extreme example, because we're talking about changing species, not just like
Yeah,
gender. But yeah, I do see what you're saying in terms of like DNA, like biologically, yeah. But in terms of literally everything else, it's
Yeah, but you
X,
can
Y, and Z compared to A,
define-
B, and C. But I sort of see what you're saying, but okay.
I don't know. I feel like your behavior determines more of who you are than what your biology does. I feel like
Okay. Fair. Alfie?
honestly, I
Part.
I can't really think of anything else to say, to be honest. I'm
Fair.
sorry.
you got any
Here?
thoughts, Filipino man?
What? What someone was saying about that. Someone's example of that nature versus nurture bit. That's what I'm repeating inside my head.
Fair enough.
This question.
Great. All right, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Please leave any suggestions, all 4 of our viewers, which are just like me. Please leave any suggestions or comments or anything you want, or if you want to be featured, drop us a comment, because I would have never considered Alfie if he hadn't dropped a comment.
Wow.
You dropped a comment?
Now I'm offended. Yeah, I did.
Oh damn, son.
And I was like,
I know.
yeah, Alfie, get in. But
I
yeah, drop a comment, guys. Leave a like. I don't think we've got a single like on any of our
Leave a like.
no.
Subscribe.
You know, someone disliked the Ishwa one. You've got like 4 likes and 1 dislike. Who disliked it?
I bet it was Shakira.
This guy's salty.
What video?
Each for one.
Didn't
Okay,
even know
thank
we
you
had a
guys so much for watching.